Hello, this video is to show you the problem that I ran into with multiple texture sets across UV tiles or UDIMs. And when it's not set up right, you get tons of issues, and this is a problem that I recently had with my project, and this is the solution that I came up with, and hopefully this can save you some headache. So in this example that I've set up, I have my cube here, and each one of its sides has its own UV tile. So I've got 6 tiles in total, the cube, and then each side has 4 materials applied to it. The same 4 materials on each side. So when I do this and I export it to Substance Painter is going to apply a texture set for each material on the object. So it's going to give one for violet, one for blue, one for green, and one for red, which is normally great for these kinds of projects if you have a really complex object. But if you don't set it up right, which is what I did, you're going to run into issues when you try and go ahead and export your maps. So I'll show you what I mean. Let's open up Substance Painter. Alright, let's set up our cube. There it is. We got UV tile workflow, perfect. That's what I want. Push that out of the way. Okay, so here we go. And, oops. Let's not do that, don't want to dock it there. We've got our texture sets on the side here for each of those materials that I applied. So we got all 4 of them right there. And you can see the issue is we have every tile under each set. May not be apparent why this problem right away, but I'll show you what I mean here. So let's put some materials on our cube. This fabric on there. Oh, I'm Canadian, so I gotta put flannel on everything, of course. Some denim and this green stuff. Beautiful. Okay, our cube is done. So what happens when we export it the way we have it set up here? Let's try it out. PBR is fine. Let's find the folder I want to use. Looks good. JPEG. And you can see our 4 texture sets here. And then each texture set, you have the option to export all the tiles individually. So I'll leave all those on, but I'm only going to use base color maps just to highlight the issue here. But you can imagine that the same problem applies to all the other maps and the same solution as well. Okay, so I got our base map set up, or base color, and let's see what happens when we export. Okay, so we get tons and tons of maps here exporting. And this is because we didn't set it up right. So now instead of getting 1 color map for each UV tile, we're getting 4 for each UV tile. So we're getting 24 maps here instead of 6 that we want, because we just want, a corresponding map for each UV tile. Let me set up the material. And this is not what we want, these little snippets. You can go into Photoshop and put them all together that way, but honestly it's really laborious and can be pretty imprecise especially when you're working with like normal and height, etc. So the solution that I found, which hopefully can work out for you as well, is back in Substance Painter here. For my texture sets, let's say this is texture set 1 here, and for a project like this I would just re-export it, set it up properly. But like my project goes pretty deep into, and I assume that's going to be the case for a lot of people, where you have tons and tons of layers and masks and everything set up the way you want. You don't want to restart it. That's just not the way to go. So, you know, maybe you got some custom artwork on there you want to really preserve. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn each one of my texture sets into a smart material. So we got our texture set here. I'm going to make a new folder on top of everything. Call it like texture set 1 smart material. And then you would drag my whole layer stack from the first set into there. Yep, perfect. And now I'm going to mask it off. Black mask, and then I'm going to just add some paint to the mask. Come into here and just reselect all those bits. So when we reapply it to the object, it's not going to propagate across the whole thing, just the areas that we want and that we did initially. So that looks good. That's not a big deal if I missed anything, just for this. So I've got that one set up. I'm going to do the same thing for, what have we got here? The flannel? Perfect. Okay. Let's imagine that this is my second texture set. Again, I can make a new folder. Oops, can't see what I'm doing there. Texture set 2, smart material. And drag my whole layer stack into there again. And mask it out. Add paint. Okay. Good enough. So for these two, I'm going to then right click on the folder and create smart material. And you can see it creating it here, texture set 1. So you can then export these to your whatever folder, and I'll do that with the flannel one that I set up as well. Create smart material and export resource. Okay, so now that I have those smart materials set up, I'm going to go back into Maya and I'm going to duplicate the same item here, but instead of breaking it up into multiple materials, I am going to just apply one material to the whole thing. Export that, same way you did the other one, which I have already done. And I'm going to bring that one in. And same same workflow. Hit OK. There it is. OK. So now you can see I only have one texture set with each one of the tiles below it. So we got our smart materials here on the shelf because I haven't closed the program, but normally you'd be able to load those in through here. But I don't need to, so that's great. So just take your smart material and reapply it, and there you go. It's going to take that whole texture set that you worked on and apply it to the object under the same unified texture set. So now, when I go to export these, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do JPEG, PC. And you can see here, I've got this, just the base color again. That's all good. That looks good. Okay, so we'll export these. And let's see what the end result is. Right, so this is what we wanted. Now let's assume that I set up the other two texture sets into smart materials. This would be a complete color map now for each one of these, for each tile. So instead of having it split up into a whole bunch, now I've got what I was looking for with each tile having its own maps. And this obviously would be the same process for the roughness and everything, metalness, because it's just going to fix all your maps and unify them into one. And that should be it. I hope this helps you, and please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Thank you.